What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Zat. It's gonna build a brand new PC to play Anthem. After I played it, I realized I don't need a brand new PC anymore. You wanna know what happened or what I think? Watch this video. The campaign and story for Anthem is okay. It's enjoyable at first, but when you start to realize that the choices you make when speaking to other characters have no effect on the outcome of the story, including during a particular situation where you were actually mad at a certain individual and they acted like nothing ever happened between you two and everything's all flowers and rainbows between you two mates, is not okay. That's not good storytelling. In fact, those are some really poor design elements that are being added to the game. In fact, most of the dialogue in this game was pretty boring for the most part, bringing no new elements or consequences into the game. And for a game that has choices but no consequences and doesn't affect the story's outcome, really sucks and shows that the storytelling or whoever wrote this game really needs to sit down and think about what is it that we're trying to do and what is it that we're trying to bring to the consumers and how we can get them to really like this story and really dive into it. For the most part, though, the story for Anthem is pretty mediocre at best. In addition to that, as mentioned, you can't have choices if there's no consequences. Aside from the actual campaign and story, the gameplay, however, was pretty fun in my personal opinion. I think it offers a great combat system that you don't see from other games mostly, and I personally didn't experience any frame drops when playing on a PC. I currently have an i7-8700K system running with the 1080 Ti graphics card, and all the graphics are set to Ultra. Though the actual gameplay differs from the original E3 showcasing back in 2017, I believe. I would have preferred that they showed off those graphics or those types of gameplays. But overall, it's not bad. But it seems to be a little bit misleading on the product they showed back then versus the final product or the retail product that we got today. So that's a big, what happened there. I'm sure optimization was coming to it and then trying to make sure that it runs on every system. But you can't run a cinematic game in E3 2017 and then expect us to get a totally different product in 2019. I think it's Personally, I think they should have probably just been more honest up front about that from that part or that aspect. Going off of that, I personally didn't suffer from, and then to go into the bugs actually, I personally didn't suffer from random disconnects too often, but I did experience quite a few bugs. The most annoying one has to be when the audio would cut out and would require me to start the game completely. In addition, during that time, during the time of this review, there were some seriously long load screens that were very tedious, very problematic, and honestly, having to sit there for 3 to 4 minutes or longer just for a game to load really sucked. There was even one day that I went out to go get some pizza and I came back 20 minutes later and I swear that game was honestly still loading. There's a few bugs that still exist in the game, but overall, I think most of them have been handled now thanks to the day one patch, but there's still a lot of quality of life that needs to be improved into this game. Otherwise, I don't see Anthem lasting a really long time, and we'll get into that in a little bit here. At the moment, the game Anthem is fun if you're into looter shooters. However, with only 3 strongholds, aka dungeons, the game can get boring really easily, really fast when you run the same strongholds multiple times in order to get loot. Now, I understand that there's a grind aspect to any game that anyone plays, but when the grind only consists of just 3 dungeons, or 3 strongholds in this case, that really sucks. So the content's really stale when it comes to this game. Honestly, it's not the best. I think when the Division 1 launched back in 2015 or something like that, they maybe released maybe 6 or 7 operations, which were aka the dungeons, and that worked out perfectly fine for the game. But to only launch with 3, one of them actually being the last mission to the campaign, again, that sucks from a consumer's point of view. That sucks. And yes, you can argue that, well, there's stuff to do in free play and this and that. You're absolutely right. But to jump into free play, you have to get into a group with like 3 other buddies. And if you don't have a group, you're going to be solo queuing. And if you're solo queuing, you're basically going to be doing everything by yourself, and pretty much no one else who's out there in the world with you is going to probably want to do the same thing that you're doing. And then on top of that, there's only 4 player in that matchmaking map. So that's another thing too, the player hub. The player hub inside I'm going to call it the garage, very lacking, very small. There's not a lot going on there. In addition to that, the single player hub, which is the first person point of view, it takes a lot of time to travel from point A to point B to point C. it takes too much time. A lot of quality of life needs to be improved, and especially for a game that was announced to have so much life and so much atmosphere and have none of that, kind of brings back the quality of game that they were trying to deliver. Whatever their reason may have been, you know, it's unfortunate that a product was being showcased in one way but then delivered in another. Now, as for the future of Anthem goes, this is going to be very difficult to say. They did release a time map, or rather a timeline or a roadmap of what they're going to do with all their content as it comes out. I took a chance to review it already, and let me tell you, honestly, it does not look good. If we look into the February cases, we have basically three free play events that are going to be occurring. Understandable that February is a pretty short month, considering that this game launched on the 22nd, and for PC players a week earlier. But if we go into March, same thing. It's very light. Stronghold caches, new items, legendary mission phases, Cortex Lock, There Be Giants, which is an event that was already occurred in February, Outlaw Outrage, which already occurred in February, and the Cortex Locks, whatever these free play events are, which means that you need to be in a party with a group of individuals. But if you wanted to do the solo, you may not have the best experience. So that's, either way, I think that's just besides the point. The point is that the content scheduled for March is very light. However, the content scheduled for April is a little bit more, but it's still questionable. What is this expanded progression mastery system? You have new items, Cortex Unlocked, several times here. Sharper Surge, which is already an event that already occurred. Cortex Unlocked, Cortex Unlocked, Cortex Unlocked. Legendary mission phases. The Stronghold. We're getting a new Stronghold in April. So basically, we're going to have to suffer the entire month of March to maybe a couple of weeks in April, because, obviously none of these dates are truly defined, until we get a new Stronghold. So basically, we're going to get our fourth Stronghold, our fourth dungeon, sometime in March. That's crazy. Then you have weekly Stronghold challenges. That's crazy. Why not just introduce it in March? Why not just introduce it now? These are crazy things. Social play and social guilds, okay, yeah, that's fine. Again, honestly though, maybe not the leaderboard part, but the guilds should be introduced in March. In fact, they should have probably just been introduced in the middle of February. Or it doesn't matter. The point is they should have been released earlier. And then May, we had the start of the Cataclysm. I'm not sure what the Cataclysm is, but if I had to assume, this is their raid content. This is basically what's going to bring all the guilds together. They're going to get a team together, and they're basically going to go fight some raid bosses. Now, for a raid to come out in May, so you have a game that came out in February. So you're going to have March, April, and May. So roughly you're going to have a period between 2 to 3 months, depending on when the raid launches. So basically 60 to 90 days, somewhere in between, that they're going to launch their first raid. That is an excessive, and I repeat, an excessive amount of time to be launching a raid. So you're telling players that they're going to have to grind out 3 strongholds for at least over a month till they get the 4th one, and then on top of grinding out the 4th one, continue to grind out 4 strongholds and do some free play events for whatever rewards they may they be good or bad, until a raid comes out potentially in May. Again, I don't know if the Cataclysm is the raid, but I'm going to assume that it is the raid. Now, for a raid to come out in May, that's an excessive, and I mean an excessive amount of time. So, in my opinion, what do I think of Anthem? I think Anthem is a great game. I think Anthem has great gameplay mechanics. I think Anthem has a lot going for it, but I will admit that Anthem does hurt itself by not having a lot of content available at the moment for itself. And to be quite honest, I want this game to succeed. I want this game to be successful, just like any other game that I play. But overall, I'm going to have to give Anthem a score between 6.5 to 7 out of 10. It has great gameplay, great graphics, okay storyline. Has a few bugs that have now been addressed with the day 1 patch, but there are still some things that exist in this game that need to be addressed, mostly quality of life improvements. And their overall roadmap for their content releases for their Act 1 It just doesn't look good right now. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you like my honest review about this game and what you think about it, give me a like, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll keep posting more videos like this as I play more games. Y'all have a good one now.